last thing I'm gonna speak on tonight because this one was heavy on my soul. I'm tired of the fake alpha males online boosting up these brokies' heads and making them all think that they high value. Sir, nothing about you is high value. Your bank account's not high value. Your morals and standards ain't high value. Even your car ain't high value. It's underwater and depreciated. But for some reason, they got y'all hyped up, making you think that you're in the top 1% just because you got promoted to the team lead at the Amazon warehouse. It's 2021. Most of us women nowadays, we making more money than a lot of y'all dudes. We the niggas with the money. So for you to be thinking that you have value out here and that your poor character morals, you can make up with it with your bank account. Some women can be bought, but guess what, baby? Not all of us can be bought.
Hello, guys. It is Lexus Exodus, leader of the Black Women Exodus. How are you guys doing? Like always, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Please share. Also, please chime in and sound off in the chat and down below. I love to hear your commentary and I love to hear your dialogue and I love the feedback. So please do feel free to share and sound off with your opinion below. This is another installment of my daily series called the Blackistan Zoo, where we profile the animals, monsters, derelicts, and other creatures often found in Blackistan. And like I've said previously, this is going to be a daily series that I think I'll do throughout April. So I want to pause at the end of April. So I'll continue to do this daily throughout April, but then I want to pause at the end of the month to kind of just level set and to regroup and see the level of engagement that I'm getting and to just make sure that I'm getting an ROI on, you know, the time and resources and how much work goes into making these videos. I enjoy doing it. Don't get me wrong. This is my passion project, but I want to make sure that you guys enjoy viewing these videos. So I encourage you, please, if you really are enjoying this series, please express that. Please share. And I know that some of us, it's a tricky situation because we're divested women, are professional. We have careers. So if you can't share, at least please just say hello and let me know that you're listening below. So, okay, so today's episode is going to be about the Naker Blackistan wolf. And special shout out to my loyal follower, Sapphire Regis, who shared this story with me. A few of the stories that we'll be profiling today. Also, shout out to KT, who shared a story that we'll talk through and that we'll highlight today. But before we get to those, I want to give a brief profile of your typical Blackistan wolf. And then, you know, let's dive into really examining this creature in their natural habitat. So, profile of your Blackistan wolf. So they are vicious animals. They are very dangerous, volatile predators. They are particularly heinous because not only do they hurt and maim women, they are oftentimes rapists, they're oftentimes pedophiles, and they wreak a lot of havoc and cause a lot of trauma and a lot of heartache and a lot of harm in Blackistan. So again, they'll rape women. Oftentimes they'll rape children, both girls and boys. And nothing is off limits. So identifiable behavior for wolves in Blackistan is, I often say they'll fuck anything with two legs, but sometimes they'll fuck things with four legs. So they'll have sex with animals. They are really very disgusting, very perverted, and very sadistic. So these animals, they do commonly run in packs, but they can also be alone. That's why we hear the term lone wolf. That's very common in Blackistan for these predators to be alone and to be secluded creatures. When they are in packs, you want to run, Black women, because they are extremely dangerous. So, we think about notable wolves. That Harlem woman that was attacked by a pack of wolves while she was buying wine. That's an instance that illustrates how dangerous these animals are. They're mostly nocturnal animals. And this is because they don't work. They don't have jobs, so they don't work throughout the day. They sleep all day, and then they come out at night and they wreak havoc. And these animals are so disgusting and ravenous and so stupid that they are known to commit really heinous acts in broad daylight. So they aren't even intelligent enough to know that what they do, the heinous acts that they do, and the disgusting behavior that they conduct, that they don't even understand that that's something that they should probably do in the dark. They do it in broad daylight. Their average lifespan is very short, so very similar to the ape. 35 years because they live very dangerous lifestyle. So eventually they meet their maker prematurely. They meet their Grim Reaper prematurely because they engage in very dangerous activity and risky activity, and typically the karma comes back to bite them. So let's get into our first story. So again, this story was shared by follower Sapphire Regis, and this story is about two wolves who drug and raped a Becky in South Beach. And it's interesting because I saw this story a few weeks ago when I covered Ty Roaches invading Miami during spring break. And I started to include it in that video back then, but this is such a very dark story. I figured that it deserved a separate video to really highlight and to really honor how tragic the story is. These dark ones, being a former victim of domestic violence and a rape victim, these ones are very triggering. Especially there's one about a child that another follower shared that we'll cover later in this video. So they're very triggering to me and very, very tough to cover. But, I really, really feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice by pretending that this doesn't happen. I really, really do feel like it is my job here, before I leave this earth, to share these stories with as many women as possible, just to be able to warn these women with stories about what they're dealing with and what they'll likely experience in Blackistan. So let's go through this first story. So let's see. So this first one is about a woman who was drugged and raped and murdered in South Beach.
Crime alert here. Two tourists behind bars tonight, accused of drugging and raping a woman who later died in her hotel room.
Local Times' Christian De La Rosa is live in Miami Beach with what else police say these two men did. Christian.
Well, police say they gave this woman a green pill, and after they left her hotel, one of them used her credit card to go party. 21-year-old Avery Collier on the left and 24-year-old Dorian Taylor are the two men police say drugged, raped, and robbed a woman on South Beach. The victim, a 24-year-old from Pennsylvania, was found Thursday, partly nude and lifeless, inside her room at the Albion Hotel on James Avenue and Lincoln Road.
Couldn't even pick up a phone to call the police or 911 after they did whatever they did to her.
Detectives say the men in town from North Carolina on spring break met their victim at a restaurant, gave her a pill, and went to her hotel.
I had sex with her multiple times, and once she was unconscious or out, it remained inside the unit, did not call for assistance or help, and began to take all her items, cell phone, credit cards, and cash.
So what did they do with those stolen credit cards? Police say at least one of the men was recorded by surveillance cameras buying alcohol inside this South Beach liquor store. Detectives tracking down both suspects over the weekend.
To think that someone would do this to her, like, she was young too. She had her whole life to still do things, and she had dreams and goals and all these things that she'll never be able to do now because of them.
Monday, the judge told them they're staying in jail for now.
So, sir, I'm holding you no bond. I'm not setting a bond. He's being held no bond. It's a very serious charge. He battered a helpless victim.
Again, police identifying the woman as 24-year-old Christine Engelhart if the medical examiner determines that her death was connected to that pill she took. If it was an overdose, the men's charges could be upgraded to murder. Live in Miami Beach, I'm Christian De La Rosa, Local 10.
So such a sad story. So this is the young woman that they raped, they drugged, raped, and murdered. And this is so sad. They done did this to a Becky, as you can see. So they fucked up. These niggers fucked up. These wolves, they really messed up because they're gonna be buried under the jail. So they raped this poor girl and robbed her. It's crazy because it's like it's not enough that y'all done drugged and raped the poor girl. Y'all had to search her lifeless body, go through her belongings after killing her, and robbed her too. So they also took her credit cards and her debit cards and her cash and her money and used that to further fund their evil activities on top of what they had already done. And this really breaks my heart. This really breaks my heart. And this, like I said, this is a triggering story because I like to travel alone. And y'all know that I'm happily married to my Brad, and he takes so good care of me. And he is such a wonderful person and really treats me so well. But I'm an introvert at heart, and I'm married, but I enjoy my solitude. So I talked about in one of my previous videos about how I was overwhelmed at work and how my husband recognized that. And so he told me to go ahead. How much money do you need? You need to take a few day trip just to kind of relax and be off the rip for a bit. So I just recently came back from ATL traveling alone. And, yesterday I went to grab Mexican alone, and, I'd like to go to the movies on my own. My husband, we don't have the same taste in movies. So I love horror movies. I'm a horror movie buff, and he loves action, and I hate action, and he hates horror. He's really religious. So, we just have different tastes in different things. And so oftentimes, I'll go dolo to check out a movie. I used to go out alone as well, too. I used to go to bars and different places alone. I used to go clubbing alone when I was single. And now I'm older and married, so I don't do that anymore. But back then, it was very normal for me to go out by myself and just to have a good time. And that was how I got raped. That's how I got date raped. And I just thank God that I didn't get drugged and killed by any of these nakers like this poor woman did. You do not want to be in spaces with packs of wolves alone. Even with friends, it's tough and it's not safe, but especially being alone. This woman was like a lamb let out to slaughter here in Miami with all those nakers and all those Thai roaches who had inundated the city. South Beach is very, very dangerous for single women, especially during Memorial Day weekend, during Urban Beach Week, and during spring break when these places experience influxes of these nakers coming to their town. Okay, so let's go to the next story this is from loyal follower KT, who shared a news story about a 10-year-old girl getting kidnapped and held in a hotel where she was repeatedly raped for weeks. This one, I still haven't been able to stomach this and watch this through by myself, so we are going to watch this story together. So here it goes. Oh, Jesus. Trigger warning. I think this will be very graphic, very explicit. And if you're a victim of sexual assault, specifically as a child, you may want to click
exclusive. Chicago police have launched an internal investigation admitting they dropped the ball in the case of a 10-year-old girl, a little girl targeted in a string of sexual assaults that ended at this Southside motel last fall. Officials finally arrested one of the suspects Friday. But as CBS 2 investigator Dave Savini reveals, they could have arrested him months ago and didn't, leaving a child predator to roam free.
She should be playing with dolls right now. She should be going to birthday parties right now.
Instead, a 10-year-old girl whose face we are not showing and some details we are not sharing for her protection was locked in a psychiatric hospital while her abusers remained free for months.
We have to get them off the street.
Including this Riverdale man, 37-year-old Samuel Brown. He is accused of meeting the girl online and taking her to a Chicago area garage in May of 2020 and sexually assaulting her.
It's when you see and you read.
Baby, and I gotta pause there. Like, y'all, that's why y'all gotta be careful with these TikToks, with these Instagrams and Facebook, with any type of internet activity that you let your children have access to. You really have to be careful and supervise that, because these children are vulnerable and these children don't know any better. So this is like breeding ground for them to be susceptible to predators and to pedophiles and to people who are lurking, these wolves who will strategically seek them out to victimize them.
About something like this happening to a little girl, I'm just as outraged and frustrated as anybody else.
Jennifer Coleman is the first assistant state's attorney, the highest ranking state's attorney under Kim Foxx. A total of 5 men are accused of assaulting the girl since she was 7, but none of them were charged with a felony until our CBS 2 investigators exposed a pattern of police failing to put the men behind bars.
So fucked
And the
up.
community will have a sense of outrage over that.
I understand that.
We sat down with Coleman last Thursday and asked why, as of that date, no one had ever been charged with sexual assault. She says because CPD never brought them any evidence.
They've never asked for felony charges.
The CBS 2 investigators obtained police reports involving 5 of the girl's accused abusers, and in at least 3 of the cases, rape kits were performed. So in this case, involving this child, the results of any rape kits performed have not been brought to the state attorney's office yet.
Not for filing felony charges.
But then suddenly, the very next day after this interview, Chicago police arrested Samuel Brown on felony charges for sexually assaulting the little girl. A rape kit done on the girl in May matched Brown's DNA. Why was Brown's DNA in the system? He was already a registered child sex offender. You'd think with that key evidence, CPD would have immediately arrested Brown once they had a match. But CPD sat on the results, allowing him to remain free for 4 months.
This is not acceptable. This was a 10-year-old baby.
Brenda Myers-Powell is a local advocate appointed to the United States Council on Human Trafficking.
Make CPD stand up and do the job that we pay them to do.
She was stunned to learn police could have arrested Brown months ago and says all of this girl's abusers must be put behind bars. What does it say to the offenders?
That you can sexually abuse, that you can traffic, that you can do whatever you want to black and brown little girls, and it's okay. Because that's what they've done. They've made it a joke.
We first introduced you to the little girl last month. A 5th grader was taken to the top floor of the Grand Motel, room 324. In that case, a different man was involved, a 47-year-old from Chicago. Concerned motel workers called the police. It happened back in October, but officers failed to arrest the man or even take the girl to the hospital for a rape.
Oh, y'all, my heart is so heavy. Y'all, and I don't usually get emotionally triggered by stuff like this, but this is tough. This is heavy. Like I said, I couldn't stomach this. I couldn't endure this news story prior to this. So this is my first time watching this story and listening to this and viewing this along with you guys. So this poor fucking girl, 10-year-old girl, that's a baby. My son is 9 years old and he's in the 3rd grade. This poor little 5th grader was victimized over and over and over again by 5 grown-ass, disgusting, devilish, demonic-ass wolf nakers. She was sexually raped over and over and over again. And they even did a news story highlighting it. But no one came to this child's aid. No one. No one. This poor little girl was just led to slaughter in Chirac. It was just free game. Anybody who wanted to assault, who wanted to hurt and who wanted to harm and sexually abuse this girl had free access to her. And no one did anything, even though they did a news story highlighting this. Blasting these disgusting pedophilic nakers. No one came to this girl's aid. And this is how disgusting these wolves are. This is how disgusting these men are. And, it makes me think about, how things were when I was a child and how it makes me think about how unprotected little Black girls are. How we are oftentimes hurt and hindered. And I say it all the time. I grew up in such a big family. My mom had numerous siblings, seven brothers and sisters. My father also had tons of brothers and sisters. So I grew up in a family with lots of cousins, lots of aunts, uncles, a really, really huge, large family. And how every single last Black woman in my family has either been physically or sexually assaulted by a Black male that she knows. This is common. This is what the norm is in Blackistan. And it makes me terrified. Like I talked about briefly about how, I entered in my relationship, my marriage with my brat now with the child, but how I'm terrified and traumatized and don't want to have any more children. This is part of the reason. I don't want to bring a biracial little black girl into this world knowing that she's going to be a target, a walking target for these nasty, sadistic, disgusting, perverted nakers. I'm so scared because this is what happens. This is what happens. They sexualize these poor girls from birth. This is why I really do think this is why so many nakers and so many of these fools in Blackistan want to procreate with exotic, quote unquote exotic or racially ambiguous or white women. It really is because they want to birth these children into this world so they can have free access to these little girls that they like. So they can have free access to these girls that they sexualize, that they fetishize. With pale skin and with curly hair. I really do believe that the sole reason why they are so stuck, so color struck and so stuck and fixated on dating outside of the race is so they can create these little girls that they can have full free access to. Where's free game? Y'all, I'm so triggered. All right. I hope that you guys are still hanging in there with me. We only about halfway through. So let's get through this and let's begin to unpack this story.
I really cannot comment on anything that the police may or may not have done with regard to their investigation. It would not be us who would be asking for the rape kit. That has to be done quickly and during the investigation.
So the state's attorney's office didn't know about the Grand Motel case?
In this case, we were never brought any charges to be considered.
The CBS 2 investigators have learned in 2020 alone, police were informed about 4 of her 5 abusers. Brown is accused of assaulting her in May. Later that summer, after no action from police or child protective services, another man picked her up in his car and hit the road. The little girl was taken from Chicago across state lines to somewhere here in Gary, Indiana, where a 22-year-old man is accused of repeatedly sexually assaulting her. She was gone for days when police finally got a tip and traced his cell phone number. He was eventually arrested, but get this, only on misdemeanor charges. And the misdemeanors? Harboring a runaway and contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Misdemeanor charges, they're for swiping a candy bar from the drugstore.
Charles Goldberg has been fighting on behalf of abused children for the Cook County Public Guardian's Office for 30 years.
Misdemeanor charges are not for somebody who would have sex and rape a 10-year-old girl.
Prosecutors say Chicago police didn't consult them before deciding to only pursue misdemeanor charges against the man who took her to Gary.
With misdemeanors, the police can do what we call direct filing. They just file that on their own.
So repeatedly, the Chicago Police Department did not come to the state's attorney's office and ask for felony charges.
No. We have not been presented with evidence to file charges.
It's a felony. All of it's a felony. All of it's a crime. This is a crucial part of what we expect our CPD to do is protect our children, if nothing else.
Our investigation prompted CPD to launch an internal probe into the mishandling of this girl's cases. After we started asking questions, CPD assigned a new detective to the case. And that's what led to the arrest of Samuel Brown late Friday. CPD says they're still investigating all of the other assault cases. Dave Savini, CBS 2 Investigators.
You can watch more on Dave's in-depth reporting on this story by heading to the CBS 2 Investigators section.
All right. So, y'all, this is so sad. But this illustrates the demonic, disgusting, problematic behavior of these wolves in Blackistan. These motherfuckers are disgusting. And I'll always say they'll fuck anything with 2 legs, but they'll fuck things with 4 legs. They'll fuck women, men, they'll fuck children, both boys and girls, and they'll even fuck animals. They don't discriminate. They're disgusting horn dogs. They are trifling or perverted, and they will oftentimes hurt and harm and will hinder children. Y'all, and this is the shit that I mean. Like, these motherfuckers is grown-ass men. 5 grown-ass men. 5 grown-ass men hurt and collaboratively came together to molest this poor child. And it's not uncommon. This is not uncommon. We all know children in Blackistan. Oftentimes, we are one of those children that have been harmed personally. Oftentimes, I'll have women that come to my channel who will detail, who will say, they have experienced horrific events where they were touched by grown adult males while they were hurt and they were molested and they were raped by men in their families, uncles, fathers, siblings. This is not uncommon. This is all too common. Man, and I think of one follower who talks about stop creating your enemy. It's her YouTube name, Black Woman Stop Creating Your Enemy. But it's also like, man, y'all, do we want to continue to create these little Black girls if we're just going to have them be subjugated to horrific, disgusting, vile treatment within this community? Divest, y'all. Divest. If this don't illustrate how important it is to divest or die, I don't know what will. Because in this fucked up ass community, in this fucked up ass place, these men, they don't have any boundaries. There's no low that they won't go to. The bar is in hell. So yeah, they'll have sex with children. Yeah, they'll have sex with little boys. Yeah, they'll rape little girls. I don't know if they were trafficking her, prostituting her, or what the fuck they were doing, but this is the norm for them. They have no morals, no integrity. There's no standard. This is how disgusting and how perverted and how low and how down low and how disgusting these motherfuckers are. So if this isn't a true illustration that really proves and highlights why it's so important for Black women to separate yourself from these demons, I don't know what will be. I don't know what will be. Y'all, I'm so sick to my stomach. I knew this was going to be heavy, but shit, I didn't expect for it to be that brutal. So I'm going to head out. I'm just going to say this is just another testament, another true real-time story of why it is so important to divest and to separate yourself from this toxicity and this bullshit. All right. Until next time, see you guys.